Not a huge surprise for the Ohio State Buckeyes, but it sure is great news now that it's official. Marvin Harrison Jr. heading to the desert. Maserati Marv going to Phoenix to play for the Cardinals and team up with his former teammate Paris Johnson Jr., who the Cardinals picked last year. Plenty to talk about as we tell you about Marvin and his trip into the NFL as it gets underway officially tonight in Detroit. We'll get into it next year. Buckeye Breakdown.
We've got the whole crew together as we cover Ohio State
with our instant analysis from Ohio State.
There's something that doesn't feel right.
Unbelievable effort from him today.
Is E.J. Liddell going to crack the first team All Big Ten?
I think he can be the guy. I'm not trying to start a quarterback controversy.
He seems to have the durability. He certainly has the toughness. This is the question on a lot of people's minds here. Welcome to Buckeye Breakdown.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Brendan Gulick, Anthony Meglin with you on NFL Draft Night 2024. What we anticipate will probably be the only first-round pick for the Buckeyes. I guess you never know. That's why you got to wait and see. But I would be surprised if there's another first-round selection tonight as Ohio State hears Marvin Harrison Jr.'s name called fourth overall, heading to Arizona. Just right off the top, Anthony, what do you think? Marvin
Just
going to the Cardinals.
Awesome fit for Marvin Harrison Jr., right? When sometimes the nervy part about the draft is these guys don't have any control over where they're going. And sometimes you get into a situation where the team that they get drafted to is not in a position to win or not in a position to compete. Whereas in his situation, he's going out to the desert, got a good quarterback in Kyler Murray. Yes, there's been some question marks early in Kyler's career, but a situation where he's going to get plugged in to be the guy right away to a team that's trying to turn it around. It's not in full rebuild mode, but it is a situation where he can make an impact, not in a couple weeks. He can make an impact on day one.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting spot to your point because so often the conventional thinking is, in general, if a team's got a high draft pick, they probably stink. There's probably a reason for that. The two caveats are either they traded and they got into that spot, kind of like the Bears were, certainly the Bears weren't great, but they were fortunate they made a trade with Carolina and it worked out in their favor. Either that, or maybe in this case, they had a critical injury that really impacted their season in a negative way. Because if I'm Marvin Harrison Jr., on one hand, you want to be selected as early as possible, but you kind of want to be in a system you think you can excel in and play with a quarterback that, has a pulse in the NFL, because the shelf life for quarterbacks, the ability to prove it feels shorter and shorter. I mean, tonight's a perfect example. They're talking about 6 guys being drafted in the quarterback room. 3 of them go off the board right away as first-round draft picks. So, as a big-time wide receiver with all the hype, all the potential, and frankly, all of the tape to back it up, you'd like to go to a place that you feel like, hey, I've got a guy that can go out and I can work with right away. And I actually think Marvin's got a pretty good situation here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was another thing it's a funny thing you bring up there for whoever was trying below Arizona to get Marvin to fall, who was starting to drop like hey, his tape doesn't match up with all that stuff. Like, come on, this was proof, him going fourth was proof to what you and I and all of Buckeye Nation watched all last year and truthfully watched all 2 years ago as well. Like, take the quarterbacks out of it. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best football player in college football. Like, that's what was just proven, in that class or in this specific class. That was just proven, 10, 20 minutes ago with his selection there. And it's all over his tape, right? I mean, we've watched him make spectacular catches. You watch him make the easy catch and turn it into a big play. You've watched him put the team on his back in critical situations in a number of different areas. And it's just an awesome deal for him. And then, talking about the fit, not only does he have a quarterback, but he joins a wide receiver room where the top 3 guys at the moment right now, Chris Moore would maybe be the name that people would recognize, but the other guys, Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch, are the top 3 receivers currently in the Arizona Cardinals wide receiver room before Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison goes and he's now immediately the number 1 receiver, on that roster. And like I said, it's got a really awesome chance with a young team to make an impact and make a critical impact right away.
Yeah, and I have to imagine that his former teammate Paris Johnson is pretty fired up to know that he's going to be teaming up with that guy. You think about the Cardinals, and the reality is they had some pretty bad moments during the 2023 season, but you need special playmakers that you can get the ball to and say, go make a play, just go make something good happen. And while it's been a long trek for them, if you feel like Kyler Murray can be your guy, and maybe that's a little up for debate, but he certainly isn't a bum. He's not a terrible quarterback that you just, throw away and say, okay, hit the reset button, start over. You've got a guy that you think can be a franchise type offensive lineman at tackle in Paris Johnson. And now you've got a guy that anybody in the NFL would take in a heartbeat at wide receiver. And I guarantee you any of those three teams that picked ahead of Arizona would have loved to take Marvin if they weren't so desperate in the quarterback room. So, look, I think Marvin's going to be in a great spot. As you pointed out, he's walking into a room where he's immediately the guy, not just because he was the number 4 overall pick this year. And, from an Ohio State perspective, this is an awesome day because it's not a surprise by anybody's stretch of the imagination here, but these are the days that the recruiting, pitch is made of like, hey, look, come here because you want to compete. You want to be around guys that are going to be the best. You're not guaranteed playing time because, by the way, look what we do. We constantly put guys in the NFL. Since 2000, no school in the country's had more draft picks than Ohio State. Obviously, there's been more accolades for that receiver room than maybe any other position room in the country. But the proof is in the pudding, and this is the pudding weekend, if you will.
And to your point too, we were just down there 2 weeks ago now, and you just see it. Emeka Egbuka is going to be in this very similar position in 365 days, and Jeremiah Smith also is going to be in this position down the road here. So it's like, hey, they're going to continue to reload in Columbus, and kind of to the point of a lot of the things we've been making. This was a fun, kind of trip a little bit down memory lane, from the season. Just kind of looking back at like, hey, what makes Marvin Harrison Jr. What made him incredible, during the season at Ohio State, and what is it going to be? What's going to translate really to the field in the NFL. And like, you go back to a couple of these games and some of the plays he made. We're not going to have a long set of clips here, but just the ability you see it every Sunday in the NFL. Like, guys, it's a catches league, right? Your quarterback's going to give your guy an opportunity to go make a big play. What does he do in the biggest game of the year, right? You're going to throw that thing up to number 18, and he's going to come down with it 9 times out of 10. Contested, don't matter. I'm throwing that thing up to 18. And then, when the game's on the line, right? Everyone in Ohio State remembers this. 36 seconds left. We're driving in on the 30-yard line going to score. Who are we throwing it to? We're throwing it to Marvin Harrison. Ball's a little off. No problem. It's going to go Super Marv, right? And lay out and go try to make a catch. And really, like I said earlier, put the team on his back. Not many receivers, can make those game-changing type plays, from the wide receiver position, but number 18 can. We watched him do it a number of times in college, and he's going to have a great opportunity to do so at the next level.
Yeah, and look, I thought that was, looking back on Kyle McCord's career, that was the defining moment, in my opinion, of his career, guiding a game-winning drive in the final, whatever it was, slightly over a minute to go beat Notre Dame on the road, and 18 was always there.
Always there. And then he then brings, you can throw it to him anywhere. He's going to make diving, spectacular catches. He's also just going to run by people, right? He's going to be at the top of your screen. And, in the NFL, Kyler Murray's not going to undershoot this ball by as much as McCord does on this play. But look at the separation here. This is just like laughable. I'm pretty sure we probably had a giggle about it. Like, this picture right here is really funny. Like, there's 6 yards of separation in between the nearest defender and Marvin Harrison Jr. And it's like, all right, at the next level, this stuff translates. Yes, this corner's not going to be 5 yards away. Maybe he's here. But when you can run past and make big catches down the field, this is the type of stuff that kind of translates to the next level. Oh, and by the way, when he does get the ball in his hands, he's impossible to tackle. Clips like this are littered all throughout his tape. And again, we watched it week over week of just Marvin Harrison Jr. being impossible to tackle when he gets the ball in his hands. And then, the spectacular, right? We've seen a couple of spectaculars, but like this one, you commented before we started recording here, this may be your favorite play of all time, but like, look at this. This is just a hope and a prayer. But when it's to 18, the saying is 50-50 balls to some guys are 60-40. Feels like when 18s get the target, his 50-50 balls are more like 80-20, 90-10.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a perfect example of his ridiculous athleticism. I know he made a bunch of plays throughout his career that were jaw-dropping, but that was a combination of a throw in only one place that a guy could go get it, and Marvin kind of working the defender just the right way, and by the way, showing late fast hands, maybe better than anybody in college football in the last few years. He's a stud, and Ohio State is so proud of the fact that he's going to represent the Block O in the NFL and, continue this incredible legacy of Buckeyes that have chances to go out and play on Sundays. Certainly wish him all the best, wish him great health and a ton of success. And I think I saw on the ESPN coverage that he is now officially the fifth son of a Hall of Famer drafted. And who knows, maybe someday he'll have a gold jacket on too.
Hey, it's a great point to leave on because one thing we didn't touch on, I don't know if you even saw it, but his necklace is awesome. For anybody who's out there tonight, anybody who's out watching our stream right now, if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you have. If you found your way to us two ugly faces, you've seen the Marvin Harrison. Oh, okay. You've seen Marvin's chain tonight. It's really cool. One side, it's Mufasa looking into the puddle, or not Mufasa. I get my line.
Yeah, no, it was Simba and looking at
Simba. Yep, Simba, and then he.
Aren't you 90s baby? Don't you know Lion King by heart?
I do. And flip it over. You got young Marv and Hall of Fame Marv in the puddle. Just really cool. Highly recommend looking that thing up.
Yeah, no, that was a really, really cool necklace for sure, and quite easily available on social media. So we'll continue our coverage all weekend long. We're excited about the NFL draft. No idea who's going to go next. That's part of the beauty of the draft. You never know. I certainly anticipate that Mike Hall is going to get drafted. I expect that Cade Stover and Tommy Eichenberg will get picked. Hope that Josh Proctor will get picked. I think there's a good chance of that. And then beyond that, we'll just kind of wait and see where the Buckeyes fall. Obviously, if you're an Ohio State fan, you're excited because so many of these draft-eligible guys are coming back for one extra year, and it's going to make the fall so much fun. But there's no reason that we shouldn't celebrate where we are here this afternoon, or I guess technically this evening, as Marvin is the number 4 overall pick in the draft. So for all the latest, si.com/college/Ohio State. We're fired up to continue coverage for you all weekend long. But in the meantime, please subscribe to this YouTube channel as well. If you're watching us on Twitter or on Facebook, we appreciate that. But we post content like this on our YouTube channel all the time, and would certainly appreciate it if you'd subscribe and give us some support over there. For Anthony Meglin, I'm Brendan Gulick. We'll see you soon, and we'll see Marvin Harrison Jr., Maserati Marv, in the desert.